It says we're live on YouTube.
Nice.
And I know it works because I did an intro video like 45 minutes ago and invited all you guys to come over to YouTube. So while I'm clicking all these things, first time we've ever done StreamYard, and I want to welcome to the WHOTEEWHO channel and introduce to you a friend of mine, the Adventure Cowboy. I've already got him up on the screen. So everybody, quick introduction. And I'll try not to ramble. I first met him, and I think I've told you this before. I had bought a 4570, so of course I want to learn about 4570s. Well, I go to YouTube's, and I watched your 4570 whitetail video. I think it's called Whitetail Does a Backflip or 4570 Whitetail or something like that. It's got a bunch of views on it, and that's how I met this guy. And then we got to talking, found out he's a great dude. We talk all the time. He probably gets annoyed all the messages I send him all the time.
No.
But truthfully, a great man of character, which in this world is sometimes hard to find. In the description, I've put his YouTube channel. He has a YouTube channel called the Adventure Cowboy. And we are going to be hunting together in Montana, and I'm super, super excited. So let's start off right off the bat. Tell us just real quick, a little something about yourself, whatever you want to talk about, and then we can get into talking about the hunt or guns or whatever we want to talk about.
Perfect. Well, for those of you who don't know me, my name is Clayton Markser. I live up here in southwest Montana. I've been ranching my whole life. I currently work for the federal government. I do a lot of stuff with natural resources, and then I still ranch on the weekends and when I get home. My wife and I have a little property here. I love cowboy guns, always have. Anything to do with Western heritage is something that I like to tell the story about and expose more people to. Love hunting. Been hunting around here my whole life, guided for a long time. And this whole YouTube thing just came out of it actually came out of a guided hunt when I had a client tell me after we'd spent a couple days together that I should kind of be ashamed of myself because I have a very unique story and a real positive outlook on life, and I wasn't sharing it with anybody. And I didn't really know how to take that, but I tried to make something good out of everything. And the best way I could figure out how to share my story about hunting and the outdoors and Western culture where I live was to do it through video. So that's kind of where the Adventure Cowboy channel came from. And yeah, it's just kind of developed from there.
And like I said before, go subscribe to his channel. I know people say all the time, oh, go subscribe. But truthfully, mean it. You will not be disappointed. Like somebody already said earlier, he needs to put up more videos. So yeah, we all are busy all the time, and most of the time YouTube is at the bottom when it comes to family and real jobs and all that stuff. But you won't be disappointed by his channel. Good friend of mine. You guys watching it live, go subscribe. If you guys are watching on the replay, go subscribe, check them out. But we are going to be hunting in Montana this year. And I was just telling him before we went live, I realized today, talking to some people at work, I have never hunted outside of the state of Tennessee. So I've been whitetail hunting for 12 years straight. And I had to think about that today when I was talking to this guy. There's been 1 year out of those 12 years where I have not taken a whitetail, mostly because I just didn't put the time in like I used to. In Tennessee, you're in our section, you're allowed 3 does a day and 2 bucks.
Per day?
Per day. 3 does a day. If you can find them, you can shoot them. And that's from the last week in September through the first week of January. So you could literally rack up just about 100 deer if you wanted to, but only 2 bucks. 3 does a day, 2 bucks a year. So, you know, before we got married and all that, I literally hunted just about every day, after work, before work, weekends, and I would take 5, 6, 7, 8 deer some years, and I normally always give the meat away. But so this is going to be a completely new experience being in Montana. I think the furthest west I've been is Nebraska, and I couldn't even really tell you where Montana is from Nebraska on the map. It's northeast, if I had to guess.
Northwest.
Yeah, northwest to the left. Yeah. And in Tennessee, all of my deer hunting is within 30, 40 yards. So I'm in the pretty thick woods, and you're not going to get a shot at much distance whatsoever. But so I guess let's talk about that. Like, we haven't even talked about that really much off of the internet, even personally. So what type of hunting do you think we'll be doing? Will we be in the woods? Will it just depend on where we find the animals? Will it depend on the species? I didn't say that either yet, guys. So he advised me and walked me through the whole process, how to apply for the tags. I had to have them in by April, my application, and I drew a combo tag, and we're good for an elk, a mule deer, and a whitetail. So, and let me tell you, I haven't really gone over this with you in detail either, but I'll be happy just to see the state of Montana. If we don't come home with anything, we won't cry. We're going to have a good time. But what I'm thinking in my head is we could chase a mule deer, and if we get a mule deer, then we'll chase the elk. Or if we chase a mule deer and don't see one for a couple days, then we can go chase some elk. But in my head, I was thinking mule deer, then elk, and then if we magically do that super quick, we could find some whitetail. Or if we happen to see a whitetail, we'll shoot a whitetail. I'm rambling. You guys can tell I'm excited. But
so I just want to clarify. I believe your tag is good. It's a combo tag. It's good for an elk or a deer. Your deer tag is good for a muley or a whitetail.
Okay. So I need to read the details.
It's 1 and 1. Yeah. I mean, you can. So even I'm a resident. I can't get 2 bull tags or 2 buck tags. I can get 1 of each, and then like 5 whitetail doe tags. But
okay, so
I actually have a B cow tag for elk this year too. So I have 2 elk tags, but only 1 bull.
So I got to pick between a mule deer and an elk. That's how that works.
Yeah, I mean, no, you have to pick between a mule deer and a whitetail. You got an elk.
Oh, okay, I'm with you now.
Yeah,
I'm with you now. Okay, well, in that case, if we see a deer, and then we'll take it. Man, I'm not particular on mule deer or whitetail.
Opportunity we can get, because so whitetails in this country are predominantly, the good ones, on private land. And while it is possible to hunt private land here, and I have access to some, what you and I are going to be doing mostly is spending time up high. And I mean, if you're coming to Montana, you might as well get up after the elk. And the elk and the mule deer live in a lot of the same habitat. So we'll go at it. Target of opportunity, man. If there's something that you see that's in front of you, and where we're hunting with your elk tag, if it's brown, it can go down. So just not a spike. Yeah. Let me clarify that. Not a spike. It has to have, if it's a bull, it has to have brow tines, or you can shoot a calf.
Oh, see, I didn't know that. So spike, just 2 sticks, can't shoot it. Okay.
And it can fork at the top. So the regulations will say that it needs to have a brow tine, like a 4-inch brow tine on the lower half of the antler. But really, when you get into branch antlered bulls that are, 2, 3, 4 years old, they're going to have points. I mean, you're going to probably have at the smallest legal bull, you'll probably have like a 3x3. But in most cases, what we will see, what we call raghorns, the smaller end is going to be like 4x5s. And we'll see some spikes, but we just won't shoot them. And gotcha. There will be some bigger bulls out there, but that time in November, it's really weather dependent on where they're going to be and how much hunting pressure they're getting where. So, I mean, some weekends there's so much hunting pressure out there. It's kind of like a pinball machine. Everywhere is good because the elk will go into a patch of trees and get shot at and then bounce out of there and go somewhere else. So,
yeah. And we both could take a cow.
We both can take a bull.
Well, we both could take either. Is that what it is?
Yes, we can both take either, just not a spike.
Gotcha.
And then I was saying, I have a second cow tag, but it's for a certain area in Montana, not right where I live.
Gotcha. So you said we'll be hunting up high. I don't even know 100% what that means. Does that mean we drive the truck somewhere and then we're out walking all day? Or are we just driving on top of a mountain and glassing? Or how does that all work?
It's very weather dependent. If we get a bunch of snow, we're going to be limited. That's how far. There's a lot of roads in this country, and that's part of the reason it's so popular. But there's a lot of country that I like to hunt that you're not going to get a vehicle even close. So it's going to be very weather dependent. In a lot of cases, it'll be taking the truck up the mountains. I mean, whatever mountain range we decide to go to, get up into the mountains, and then we'll hike into an area that hopefully will hold some elk or mule deer. And then it's just a matter of how picky Adam's going to be.
I'm not picky. Well, and so last year in Tennessee, I hunted almost every Saturday from end of September to January. I shot a button buck on the very last day in January. Last year was super dry in Tennessee, but I'll be so happy to be there. It'll be an adventure. You already told me a good pair of boots.
Good pair of boots. You get what you pay for with boots, especially if you're going to put on a lot of miles in elevation. Some of the slopes that we go down are steep enough that dirt barely hangs on it. So you want something that's going to support your foot. And then in the event we ever have to pack out anything on our backs, you want something that's going to support your feet, because big bull elk, you're looking at about 250 pounds of meat. And depending on how we quarter it up, if we leave bone in for some, cause a lot of times when I pack, I like to have some bone in it still for structure, because a big ball of meat jello on my pack sometimes is a little annoying. Let me back up a little bit. Yes,
all right.
We're going to be on foot, and we will do some cover and country with the vehicles to, go from mountain range to mountain range. But my intention is to also do some horseback stuff.
That would be fun.
And when it comes to packing something out, my intention is dang sure to be using the horses.
No doubt. So here's my parallel. So in Tennessee, I said at least my hunting, obviously in Tennessee, there's cornfields and pastures, but I don't have access to anywhere to hunt that's like that. I've always, in all my days hunting in Tennessee, it's close quarters in the woods, 30, 40 yards max. That also, all the hunting that I've also done in Tennessee is park the truck and maybe walk 200 yards into the woods. And the biggest deer I've ever shot is 140 pounds dressed. 140 pounds you can throw over your shoulder. Mm-hmm. We don't get big deer. I mean, gut them, drag it, or put it on your shoulders and carry it out. I've taken whitetail that I could pick up by the backbone over the fence, put them on the other side. Mm-hmm. That's our Tennessee deer.
Yeah. Our deer here are fairly big bodied. Mule deer are bigger bodied than whitetail. Whitetail tastes better because they eat better forage, but mule deer, I've had a couple of pack outs of mule deer where it'll dang sure work you out. Whitetails, we even have some decent sized whitetail here body wise, but the elk are the big challenge. I mean, you shoot an elk or a moose around here, you're going to work to get it out. And I still see a lot of people try and get them out whole. Like they drag them. Yeah, they'll get 3 or 4 and drag them, or they'll drag them down the mountain, which, I've done before. And if it's downhill and snow, they'll drag okay. But when you get on a flat, you'll kill yourself trying to drag it. And then trying to get a full grown, let's say you shoot an elk that weighs 700 pounds and you try to load that thing in a truck whole. You about prolapse yourself trying to get an elk in the back of a truck. So anymore, especially after my years of guiding, I've gotten to where a lot of times what I do anymore with elk is a gutless method and just pack it out in quarters.
Cool. And my deer butchering, I think I watched 1 or 2 YouTube videos years ago, but I'm definitely not an expert. So we get something I'll be watching close to learn a lot from you too. I've seen in several of your videos how you do it already. The little precise places to cut that makes everything so much easier. That's why when I tell you guys to go check out his channel, there really is a lot of stuff you can learn from him.
I got a lot more videos to upload, and I'll go into that here later when we start talking about other stuff like YouTube. But I did a more detailed video last year with the elk I killed on taking the legs off with just a knife. A lot of people have a real challenge with taking the legs off, especially the hind legs. They get a saw out and do a lot of extra work that they don't need to do. And it's really very simple. It's a couple tiny cuts and a little twist and the legs off. And it works on moose just as good as it does a whitetail. So I did show that in one of my deer videos. I think I have, if I left it listed, I got a little grief on that one because it's a little graphic, but I had a video on my channel about how to take the front legs off a deer the easy way.
I'm 99% sure I saw that one.
Probably.
Whether it was then or still up. But.
Did I skin it with the Suburban?
Yes. well, I don't know if that's the same video, but I've seen that one too.
Yeah. Yeah, I think there was just a clip of the Suburban skinning the deer. So I used what, if you Google it, it'll be, people call it the golf ball method, but I just use a rock.
Yeah.
A rock and a rope and some sort of method to pull the hide off. It works pretty good when you have something to do the pulling, like a horse or a four-wheeler or something. But
yeah,
otherwise you have to do it the old-fashioned way.
Well, I'm reading the comments quick here. Timmy BMN says, "Bring that Taurus for a bear gun." So let's talk about that quick. You had mentioned something about bears. What's the latest on that? I told you I had bought a 454 Casull.
Well, there's been 4 different people attacked by grizzly bears right here in this area in the last week. 3 of them were in one day. So it's a very real issue here. I mean, the odds are you're not going to get attacked, even here where the grizzly densities are fairly high, but it could happen. So it's good to be prepared. These guys, between all 4 of them, and one of them, so there was 2, last week there was 2 pairs of guys walking, and that was one of the best things they did was they hunted with a buddy.
Well, they were hunters. They weren't just like
people. It's archery season here, so they're up there hunting archery season. And they were just walking along, both sets, one in the morning, one in the evening. We're just walking along through the woods and got attacked. The victims swore up and down that the bear spray was what saved their life. I think one of the pairs did shoot at the bear some. The fishing game and other folks were not able to ever find that bear to definitively say it was dead. And then the attack yesterday, that guy, I believe, he was walking through some downfall and got attacked, and I think his legs got bit up a bit. I don't know the details for sure. I know that I think he's going to be okay, but he got several rounds off into a bear, and the bear did run off, but they couldn't find it either. So at this point,
well, so this is real stuff. This isn't being funny or anything. So
no, this area has had a lot of attacks. I mean, one of the most famous ones to ever hit social media was just right over the hill from where I live, and that guy named Todd Orr that got hit twice by a grizzly within 10 minutes. That was like 2 or 3 years ago. If you just Google Todd Orr bear attack, I mean, there's a video where he's doing a selfie and half of his face is like drooping because the bear. Some people aren't lucky and don't survive it, and there's been a few fatalities in this part of the country too. But
and this is stuff to learn, so that I absolutely have no experience with. So, say we're walking down a path and we see a grizzly bear, 50 yards in front of us, and it's just walking away. What do we do? Do we walk backwards or just keep on going?
We just stop, mind our own, just stop, watch him. If he walks away, we're going to let him walk away. I mean, there's people that are going to be pretty anti-grizzly around here. I mean, people think that all of us like ranchers that live around here just hate the grizzlies. None of us really hate the grizzlies. We just want them to be manageable numbers. I mean, they're way over the number that the Endangered Species Act, when they got put on the Endangered Species Act, they were to hit a certain number and then be taken off of the Endangered Species Act. Well, they're well past that number of bears, but it's such a political firestorm right now that they actually got put back on the endangered species list after briefly coming off earlier this year. So,
wow.
So yeah, it's a real thing. It's just part of our lifestyle here, and it's something that is becoming something we have to be more and more conscious of. I mean, I grew up here, so I've taken it for granted for most of my life. I've never really had an issue with them. But I mean, that scenario that you put, if we're walking down a trail and we see a grizzly bear walking down the trail and he just kind of saunters off, we're going to stop. We're going to watch him, kind of watch where he goes, and then we're going to turn around and go somewhere else.
Yeah.
Now, if a bear comes out and he charges us, we're going for the bear spray first. I know there's going to be a lot of gun guys on this video, and they're all going to, a lot of them are going to be like, no, you'll 44 Magnum to the face. That'll do it. I've been around enough animals in this part of the country that have taken plenty of lead and run off on adrenaline. I mean, like heart shots and shots through the vitals that deer video that you mentioned.
Yeah.
That was a 45-70 through the neck, which I don't usually take neck shots. In fact, I pulled that shot a little bit. It was not supposed to be a neck shot. I was going for a shoulder shot so he didn't jump my neighbor's fence.
Yeah.
And I pulled it a little bit. I hit him square in the neck, and he flipped over backwards, landed on his back, and then got up and took off. And, I mean, as you see in the video, I eventually maneuvered around him, and I got another shot and dropped him like a rock. But
yep.
The hole through his neck, my daughter could almost stick her arm all the way through. I mean, it's dead center in the middle of his neck, 45-70 at like 75 yards.
Neck shots generally will drop a whitetail.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I've done it myself. Every whitetail I've ever shot, not with a bow, obviously, but with a gun, dropped in his tracks in the neck. But neck shots are good if you're a good shot and can do it. I wouldn't recommend people just often shoot for the neck if they're not confident in their accuracy. But
yeah,
I get that question quite a bit. Where do you like to shoot? I mean, it depends on how the deer is standing and all that jazz.
Well, in the context of a grizzly bear, a lot of people that they'll talk a big game about, and kind of like how tough they are by how big a gun they're going to carry, and that's their bear protection. They don't need no bear spray. The science and the facts have well proven that bear spray is the most effective at keeping you from getting bit in the first place. And like I said, animals can take a lot of hits. If they're running on adrenaline, they can take a lot of hits and keep going, even fatal ones. So if I'm going to deploy the bear spray first, and I'll probably be drawing my sidearm at the same time. Now, we're going to be hunting with rifles, so I'm not packing a sidearm if I'm going to be packing my 45-70 around. The biggest thing is just to be smart. You got to have your head on a swivel and watching all the time. Don't take things for granted. If you're camping in this part of the country, be smart. Don't put your food anywhere near your camp. And then it's really a lot of common sense, but it can happen to anybody, and don't get overconfident, because I know a lot of pistol shooters, and I'm a fair shooter myself, but
yep,
people don't understand how fast a bear moves when they're charging. And it's not just like they're coming straight at you. A bear, when it runs, it kind of does this as it's charging. And I don't know anybody that is so good with a pistol that they could hit a charging bear with a brain shot. I mean, we're talking smaller than a human brain.
Yep.
Target that's moving like that. And if it's not a brain shot, it's probably not going to drop it like a rock. So I carry bear spray and a handgun.
Well, and Logan in the comments, that's actually my cousin. He said, "What is bear spray?" I don't know. I'm assuming it's some kind of pepper spray for bears.
Right, it is pepper spray. So if you think about those cans of pepper spray for humans, imagine a big can about 10 inches tall for
like a mini fire extinguisher or something.
Yeah, almost. And it puts out a big fog out in front. And as they're charging, they breathe that in and it gets in their eyes. And a lot of times it'll dissuade them. But yeah. So like I said, I carry both.
Well, and before we get off the topic of dangerous animals, you had mentioned that there's wolves up there too, right?
Yep.
And from what I've read, those are legal to hunt if you have the right permits. Is that right?
Yeah. Yeah. If you bought a wolf tag, you can hunt a wolf. And it's very likely that, I wouldn't say very likely. I don't see them every year, but I've seen a lot of wolves around here over the years, and some real close. So I always buy a tag.
Rather to have it and then wish you had got it.
I would love to legally have a wolf like on the wall.
Could I buy one out of state?
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah. If you log on to the website, you might, I don't think you have to draw for them or anything, but I think you could probably buy it on the Montana FWP website. So when you log back in, they'll ask you for your ALS number and stuff, just your information, and it'll come up with all the things that you've got so far. Which,
for anybody who would ever want to do it, just for the sake of talking about it, it was easy to apply. I mean, I would recommend you talk to somebody who's knowledgeable, like Clayton. Literally, while I was applying, I was on the phone with him and saying, click this, click that. Here's what you want to do. Because I would hate for somebody to apply and then not get what they wanted or not apply for what they thought. So thanks again. He literally walked me through what to apply for on the phone. And then we got drawn. So I'm super excited.
You'll have to, if there's questions coming out for me, like my camera, my little computer camera is zoomed enough that I can't be super close to my computer. So if there's questions coming in for me specifically, you kind of have to help me watch.
Oh, yeah. Let's pause.
Keep up with them.
There's tons of them. So let's pause and skim through it. I always appreciate everybody coming in here. Let me see here. Ew, Andrew Strassel's in here. So check this out, Andy. If you're still here, I'm wearing my High Point Firearms shirt. That's a High Point guy. Appreciate you watching.
There's somebody that says, I think the Adventure Cowboy is dead wrong on the bear spray, though. Well, you can come up here and gamble with the bears yourself. But even the guy that got attacked by the same bear twice last year, he's a very, very proficient handgun hunter. He had his handgun with him on his person, and he did not have time to draw and aim his handgun. But he did get his bear spray deployed kind of in the general direction. The bear ran through it, but it did hit the bear, and it did have effect. And I've watched a video of him post his attacks, and he's a handgun hunter, and he said that he would not be without his bear spray in the future because he thought it was more effective. So
yeah, I definitely don't want to take any risks when we're talking about bears.
People could say what they want, but unless they live here and have been around the grizzly bears, it's a moot point to argue with them.
Tony says, can you hunt with a 50? So there's all different kinds of 50s, but I'm guessing you're talking about 50 BMG. So I'll say this about 50 BMG. My 50 BMG weighs 32 pounds, and I don't think I want to lug that on foot through the mountains.
There are a few people every year that in this country you see that hunt with a 50, or I can remember running into a guy that he had one. But in Montana, handicapped hunters that have certified that they're handicapped, they have a decal they can put in their window. They can shoot from a vehicle.
From the car.
Where, if you're not handicapped, you can't be touching your vehicle. And you can't shoot from any roadway or anything like that. So but I knew a guy that was handicapped, and this was back before like the 1,000-yard guns became pretty popular. You know, the smaller caliber 1,000-yard guns became pretty popular.
Yeah, 6.5 Creedmoor and all that.
Yeah, and I wouldn't use a 6.5 for elk that far out, but
Yeah.
I know people do. But it's not very forgiving if you don't hit them in the right spot. But yeah, there's people that hunt with 50s out here. But like you're saying, you got a 30-pound rifle. Is that before the scope?
It's 32 with the scope. Yep.
And you don't have a magazine, so that's
single shot. Yeah.
Yep. And it's not; those guns are not comfortable to. I mean, it's not like a hunting rifle that you put a sling on and just sling over your shoulder. There's not. There's a lot of weird angles and uncomfortable gouges when you pack a gun like that.
Well, so now we're talking about calibers. I know what type of stuff you like to hunt with, and I kind of hunt with everything. Last year, the only deer I took was with a 450 Bushmaster rifle. So I was kind of thinking on bringing 4 or 5 things, and I don't know, mix it up. But what would you recommend? I mean, we could bring the 450 Bushmaster, the 4570, 338 Lapua.
Bring them all.
I just got a 300 Win Mag and a 7mm Magnum last week. So I thought, if anything, hey, we could hang out for a day and we could just have fun shooting guns if you wanted to. I don't know. That's
what I tell people when they're coming out here to hunt, like especially when I was guiding and I'd get questions about it. Bring the biggest gun that you can shoot the most effectively. If you can shoot 2 shots out of a 300 Win Mag before your shoulder gets sore, bring a 308. I mean, 308 kills quite a bit. My 10-year-old son's hunting elk this year. It'll be his first year hunting elk, and he's going to use the 308.
That's awesome.
I have a video on my channel called Montana Elk Hunt where my best friend smokes a cow elk at 175 yards with a 308. So 308s are effective.
That's awesome.
Shoot what you shoot the best. That being said, I am a big fan of big, heavy bullets.
Yep.
Now, if I had a 6.5 Creedmoor, which I don't, but my good buddy does, I would hunt with the heaviest bullet I could, the heaviest, best constructed bullet I could with it. And, I would be careful with how far I extended my range on an elk, because there's a lot of bone and muscle mass that if you hit them in the wrong spot that far out. And you got to remember, too, there's some time between when you pull that trigger and when the bullet actually hits the elk. And then at those long distances, one step from an elk could put a shoulder bone in your way or, put it in the guts.
That was going to be my next question. So, well, let me back up and take another question. How many elk have you taken?
I'm not sure. I've never counted.
Well, that's all we need to know. That's the same with me with whitetail. I don't know.
I've got quite a few elk. Not very many big bulls. I've shot some bulls, but my biggest bulls are in archery season.
Even here in Tennessee, at least my experience, bow season, if you want to see a buck, you're probably going to see it in bow season. By the time gun season comes around, it's hard to shoot a buck. It's hard.
A little bit opposite here. Our rut starts towards the latter. I mean, it gets pretty good around the latter end of November, and our archery season is from like the Monday after, or the Saturday, the first Saturday in September to the second Sunday in October. That's our archery season.
Wow.
You can still use a bow during rifle season, but most people use a rifle.
Yeah.
Generally,
ours is the same way. So out of all your personal hunts and people that you've guided, what's about the average distance shot? That may be 2 answers if it's a big difference between you and people you guided.
I would say the vast majority are under 300 yards. There's people that like to get farther out than that, just for the
sport of it.
Which, you know, that's a whole nother conversation. You get into the ethics of long range hunting, and I'm not against it, but I just think that if you're on purpose finding animals farther out to make extra long shots, you're kind of not being very respectful of the game that you're after.
Yep.
If you've wounded something and it is 800 yards out there, you know, and you're trying to follow up and get it killed, let that lead fly. If the only shot you've gotten is at 800 yards and you're rock solid at 800 yards in that terrain and in those weather or those atmospheric conditions, and let it fly. But for the most part, as a hunter, you want to try and get as close as you can to the game you're trying to kill. So,
yep.
So I've killed elk anywhere from 60 yards with a rifle, anywhere from 60 yards to a little over 300. I've seen
that.
Guided elk kills out past 600.
Once you get, I know almost nothing about long range hunting. The people watching it live, if you've seen the videos, I've been hanging out with the Alabama Arsenal guys channel. They have 1,000-yard range, and I took my 6.5 Creedmoor and the 338 Lapua Magnum, and we're hitting steel over and over at 1,000 yards. But sitting on a bench rest in good weather and no wind at 1,000 yards, it's completely different than out there hunting where you have different elevations and you don't know where the wind is halfway there or all the way there, and it's a different temperature. I mean, 300 yards, I can do a 300-yard shot.
Well, what you just brought up is a pretty important deal. A lot of people go to the range and sight in their guns at a bench, put it in the lead sled. Oh, yeah, it's still shooting good.
Mm-hmm.
But in reality, you're never going to have that situation when you're in the woods. I would say 90% of my elk kills, my hunting kills at all, are offhand shots. And I'm very comfortable with offhand shots. So that's kind of my first instinct. But most of the time, you're going to be like resting on a tree. It's never going to be a perfect rest like you have on the bench. So one of the things I've really been trying to teach my 10-year-old son is that when we practice shooting, we don't just practice from a bench. We practice practical positions, prone, sitting, kneeling, standing. Those were the positions that people shot in tournaments for a long time for a reason, because that was what you did in real life.
Yep.
So when it comes to hunting, I'm a big advocate for a lot of practicing without a bench.
So that's a good idea for a YouTube video. Here's the rifles we're taking to Montana, and let's practice shooting them offhand. That'd be fun.
Yeah.
I don't do much centerfire rifle shooting standing up offhand.
I mean, a lot of people don't when they're hunting too, because they haven't done enough to feel comfortable. So their first instinct is to take a knee, or, you know, I've had hunters carry tripods with them, which to me is just a huge waste of energy to pack a tripod with you when you're hunting. But I mean, if that's what they've been practicing and that's what they're proficient with, then whatever, we'll do that. But yeah, I mean, in your case, you can't really practice very far at home, but you can practice all the positions. I mean, just use your terrain that you have there and visualize an elk standing out there, and how am I going to get the best shot I can? And the other thing that I will point out, you know, I mentioned earlier that especially on days when there's a lot of hunters out and the elk will just kind of be pinballing all over the place, the elk that you see are very likely going to be moving from one piece of cover through an open meadow or an open ridge top into another piece of cover. they're going to probably be moving, and they'll stop for just a second and look at you. And you have about that much time to pick which one you want to shoot, get your gun on it, put your crosshairs where you want to put them, and squeeze the trigger. And make sure, especially because elk are herd animals, right? So they're going to, if that time of year, they're in big herds. So what you hope for, if you is the best scenario is you catch them out feeding, and they're sorry, my dad's calling me here. The best scenario is to catch them out feeding, and they're just kind of relaxed, and they're all kind of scattered out eating. If they're herded up and they're moving, that creates a bit more of a challenge because they move in a mob. There'll be an old cow that is kind of the matriarch of the herd. The lead cow is what we always call them. And if the lead cow suspects something's up, she takes off, and the herd goes where she goes.
So let me ask a question about that quick. So in my experience and the kind of people that I know around here in Tennessee, if paralleling that to whitetail, that's a doe you want to shoot. One that's warning people, or a smart doe. Those are the ones you want to pick off. The one that's tipping off the other deer. Is that a elk thing or not really? Like, oh, there's the lead cow, let's kill it. Or
if you can identify the lead cow, it means they're already herded up and she's moving out, and you're going to take whatever you can get.
Good point. Good point.
You know, I've hunted with some guys that are pretty good, that have been in the situation where they're looking at a herd. And some hunters, this kind of gets me on a soapbox a little bit. There's a lot of hunters.
Oh, it's all good.
They get in a big frenzy about elk hunting. I mean, they get elk in front of them and they just lose their mind. And there's probably not much I've ever seen that's worse than some jackwagons flock shooting. Like, there's a whole herd of elk in front of them, but they just see one and they start flinging lead, and you got wounded cows, wounded bulls. It can turn into a huge mess. So staying calm, finding an elk that's in a safe, has no elk behind it. If that's the lead cow, great. If it's a bull in the back, great. Sometimes, though, it's kind of funny or kind of interesting. If you shoot the lead cow, sometimes the herd gets a little confused and they'll start milling around even more until another cow just kind of picks it up and goes. But it's usually never the bulls leading the herd. Usually the biggest bull is smack dab in the middle of the mob. And you give them a clear shot.
Oh, man, that's awesome.
My favorite time to catch bull elk is when they're feeding.
And here, normally, in all my whitetail experience, you won't catch, at least during deer season, you won't catch many bucks with the does. You'll either see 5 does come through, or you'll see 1 buck or 2 bucks by themselves, or I hardly ever see them together. Oh, I'm learning all kinds of stuff. I know literally nothing about elk.
I'm trying to read some of these comments because kind of just been.
Truth Speaker says, have you ever seen a Bigfoot while elk hunting?
No. I've seen some weird stuff, but I've never seen a Bigfoot, nor a Bigfoot track. And I've been in the woods a lot. There's enough people like me that live in this country that if there was a Bigfoot in this part of the country, somebody would have already shot it.
Well, so what else? And I looked up the drive. It's a 27-hour drive. So that won't be too bad. I'll probably stop halfway there, pick a place to get some sleep. I haven't quite figured out what I'm driving yet, but probably excursion. One
of the benefits of, we're going to be hunting late in the year. It's quite possible that it's going to be winter when you get here. We've had a couple real nice falls the last couple of years where it's nice almost to Thanksgiving. Too nice. The elk don't really get to coming down, and it changes their migration patterns when they still have lots of feed way up high. But if it gets to be cold, one of the advantages of that is your meat will keep easier. I mean, that's a challenge people don't think about a lot when they're coming out to hunt is, okay, what are the realities of moving that much meat, that far for that long and keeping it cool?
Well, and see, stuff like this is popping up in my brain, so I have no idea how far would we potentially walk away from the truck? A mile, or is that kind of further than we probably do? Or
we could go 10.
If we're chasing stuff, we shoot something way out. We spend the night out there.
All options on the table, man.
if we see them and we're chasing them, it just whatever happens.
If it's 0 degrees, I'm going to be trying everything I can not to have to sleep outside. But I've spent some nights in my truck when it's super cold like that, and the heated seats are real nice. Start the truck about every couple hours. I prefer not to do that if I don't have to, but most likely we'll be probably staying here around the house in the evenings, and then get up early in the mornings and be out to a spot before it gets light. So we might have to hike or ride a ways in the dark in the mornings, and then wait for it to get light, hopefully catch some feeding. Then if they get into the trees and go bed or whatever, we just go hike through the timber looking for the sweet spots and dark, nasty hollows that they like to hide in. And then as it gets to evening, they'll come back out to feed. So it'll be a lot of dark to dark stuff. And we might not, if we go 10 miles on foot, it probably will be a pretty bad day. But more than likely, I mean, and there's days hunting that you could do more than that, but hiking around in the snow, I mean, it's slick, and you're high stepping everything when you get up into that high country. So a few miles probably every day. And then the days we take horses, we'll go farther. Like there's one spot that I'm going to take you horseback probably that'll be, well, it's about an hour drive to get there, and then 4.5 to 5 miles of riding.
Wow.
To get to where we would get off and start hunting. But I mean, realistically, you're hunting the whole way, but it'll be dark. It'll be dark till we get off, pretty much.
Wow. See, that sounds like an adventure to me. That sounds awesome.
And like hunting horseback, that adds another layer. So I took my brother-in-law hunting for his first year a couple years ago, and I put a video up there.
I saw that video. Yeah,
he shot a toad of a whitetail for his first year. But we'd been hunting all over for elk, and we had 6 bulls run across in front of us at 250 yards. And it was like I saw them coming up the hill, and we were riding up a ridge, and they were they perpendicular, ran across in front of us. And we didn't have hardly any time. I got off, they stopped and looked at us, and I went running around to help him get off and get his gun out. I got my gun out, and I had my gun ready. I could have shot a bull, but we were up there for him. I mean, it was his first time. I really was hoping he would get a shot, and he learned a valuable lesson. He had a scope dialed in too high. You got a 3x9 scope, and people get, they zoom it in because it's easier to see the target. Well, when you have such a narrow field of view through your scope, he had elk 250 yards in front of him and couldn't find him in a scope very fast. Plus, you also have horses that are on lead ropes in your hands, and sometimes gunshots scare them a little bit. So you don't want to have to be hunting your horse all day after they've run off and you've shot an elk. True story, happened.
It took like 5 seconds in my mind to understand what you meant, hunting your horse. Yeah. Literally one day, I think it was back in 2007.
Was out hunting with somebody, and I got off and made this loop, and because I knew that the elk were in this big patch of aspen, but we couldn't really see anything to get a shot at it. So I went around this big patch of aspen, and I left this person holding the horses, and I knew I could find one in the aspen to get a shot at, but the elk all went running out. The elk and 2 moose, maybe more moose, all went running out of there. The horses got boogered at the moose. For some reason, they don't booger too much at elk. Some horses don't care about moose, but some do. But the horses were pretty jittery anyway, and they sat on the halter ropes in the snow and tried to do a sitting shot at a bull and missed. But when they shot, pulled the halter ropes out from under her butt. And
oh, no.
And then they just kind of looked at her for a minute before they took off. We found them at the bottom of the mountain, like miles and miles later.
Whoa.
So, and it was 20 below then. And I ended up shooting a cow later that night after we got the horses. And it was 22 below.
Whoa.
And that one was pretty cool because I shot her. And this is what happens sometimes when you're hunting horseback. Elk just appears and you're sitting on your horse. And you get off the horse and you get a good shooting position. In this case, I was riding an old broke horse that I've had since he was a baby. I've had since I was 12. And I've shot off of him a lot. And I already had, because my sharps doesn't really fit in my scabbard too well because it's so long.
Yeah.
Just had it sitting across the pommels, and the barrel was already pointed towards the elk. She came up on my left. And so she was sitting there at 279 yards, and I just, from my horse.
Wow.
It's
so
cool.
You can hunt, you can shoot from a horse, but not from a cow, huh? Or from a car.
Not from a car. I don't think that they put any regs in there as far as shooting from horses because they think most people are not going to do that.
Yep. But what about, do you have to wear orange in gun season for elk?
Yeah. Montana, you have to wear 400 square inches of orange, which is a hunting vest. In Wyoming, you have to wear an orange hat. Here, you don't have to do that, but you do have to wear hunter's orange. And people will go back and forth on that. In Idaho, it's optional, so nobody does. But in Montana, I kind of appreciate it. There's been some people shot in years past that it was a mistake. There wasn't really good light. The person shooting shouldn't have been shooting because they didn't know exactly what they're shooting at.
Right.
But bad light, something's rustling in the bushes and comes out, and you just instinctively pull the trigger. It might not be an animal. And things like that had happened in the past, and that's kind of where Montana's orange law came from. So yeah. I don't love wearing orange, but I also don't like getting shot. And I've actually been in situations, I've been in situations where, I was talking earlier about people just go nuts when they get an elk herd in front of them. I had shot a cow elk with a little Winchester 45 long Colt and dropped her. And I was dressing her, and the herd ran across the fence onto this, and that was on private land. And the herd jumped the fence and ran out onto some public land on this bench. And I didn't keep track of them because I'd already shot my elk. But I'm dressing her, and bullets start whizzing over my head because these guys, I look, see the herd, and these guys illegally drove their vehicles out onto this bench. Because they could. They were off-roading and just bailed out and started blasting, kind of like I was talking about flock shooting. And they weren't aware of what was behind their target, which was the elk. And what was behind them was me. And I was out there. I try not to cuss too much, but I was saying some not nice things. And I was waving my hunter's orange over my head because I don't know if you've ever been downrange of a bullet, but there was no over my head, and it is the weirdest sound. And it scared me. So I don't mind the hunter's orange.
Yeah, and we have the same in Tennessee. It's so many inches, but on public land, I wear a vest and a hat. But if you're hunting your own land, you don't have to wear orange. It's the law in Tennessee. What else do we need to talk about before we jump off here tonight?
Looking in the comments, somebody says I'm like American Ricky from Trailer Park Boys. I've never seen that. I hope that's not an insult.
I haven't seen it either. I don't know.
Okay, Randall Richardson tells you better get some great boots and warm clothes.
That's a friend of mine. We've been deer hunting and hog hunting this year together. So, well, deer last year and hog this year. We got to get some more hogs, Randall. We'll hunt deer soon too.
He's right on the warm clothes. Like I said, it might be pretty nice, but so I'm going to give you a little example of reality right now. This is the end of September.
Yep.
Here where I live. I don't know if I'm. Everything's reversed. Snow likely, chance snow.
Wow.
So there may be snow on the ground when you get here. There may be a lot, or there may be none. Weather's kind of weird in the Rockies.
It's going to be 95 here this weekend. That's our weather.
It's 62 right now, and today's like a really nice day. But Monday, it's a high of 35.
What? No.
Yeah.
Wow. I've never been anywhere that I ever remember where it's been below zero. And like last year, I think we might have only had a day or two below freezing, and that's at nighttime. We
had 6 weeks in a row below zero, which is that's even extreme. I don't want to say extreme. That was unusual. We usually have a few weeks below zero, but last year, kind of like through February, and a lot of people were calving, and they lost a lot of calves, and a lot of calves lost their ears that did survive. But yeah, 6 weeks of below zero, and quite a bit of that. I mean, we were down like 20 to 30 below zero for quite a while.
So I've got a set of bibs and a coat and another coat. I'll have to get everything together.
All right. This is
Make
good.
sure I got enough.
I brought this up because I've been meaning to tell you. This is my own personal experience. People might argue. A lot of people will go do Under Armour and then buy a $200 brand name hunting coat. Yeah, don't go buy a bunch of real expensive like coats and stuff that are. I have a pair of pants that cost $100, and it just drives me absolutely crazy. They're camo pants, but they have a lot of pockets and stuff, and I should have never spent that much money. It's not that big a deal. But as far as being warm, wool is your friend. Like, wool is awesome. If you don't want to have the heaviness of wool, fleece is also your friend. I have a fleece pullover that I wear even when it's super cold, and I have a wool like neck gaiter. It's like a military surplus one.
Yeah.
I wear my cowboy hat almost through everything because I can just pull that wool neck gaiter up over my ears. And then I have that fleece pullover. I usually have just a shirt, whatever, t-shirt, or I usually have a button-up shirt, but then I'll have a vest and then my fleece. And the fleece is nice because when you're hiking a lot, which we do a lot up here, but then you stop and glass, which is something else, we do a lot of up here. But when you're in that kind of temperature, at that kind of elevation, if you get sweaty, man, that sweat turns to ice pretty quick if you're wearing the wrong clothes. So I had, first year I was guiding, somebody gave me this windproof, waterproof, breathable hunting coat. It was more for duck hunting or whatever, but it was camo, whatever.
Yeah.
So I used it, and I about froze to death. It was warm, really warm. But when you stopped and you're sitting in that cold wind, it'll freeze you. So I got a fleece that I wear all the time, and that's probably my favorite piece of hunting clothing. Like I said, wool is your friend. Polypropylene's okay. And the only thing I don't like about polypropylene and the synthetic stuff is that when you've been out hunting for a long time, you don't have access to a shower, that synthetic material really starts to reek, and nobody can hardly stand to be around you. But I have an outfitter friend that he wears wool a lot, and when he does his layers, he prefers to do silk, polypropylene, and then wool on the outside. I wear jeans most of the way through the winter, but I'm kind of conditioned to the cold up here. I generally stay away from cotton. Other than that, I don't always wear jeans. I do have some wool pants, canvas.
Well, so if I wear jeans and then I have a pair of Carhartt bibs, canvas bibs, is that good enough for the legs?
It will be, but I will tell you, it's going to get heavy. And if we're walking around in snow a lot, and as cold as it is, the bottom of the bib legs will turn to ice. Like, you'll be able to just like bend them. And you probably will have a hard time, the leg zipper. You probably won't be able to use the leg zipper. So that will work. When I was younger, I used to use bibs, but they are pretty heavy. So
yeah.
I would just one of the things I would suggest is go to some sporting goods store and look in their clearance rack for some kind of camo feltish, like microfiber pant. Those work pretty good. Just wear them over your jeans if you're going to wear jeans. Just wear
them over your jeans.
Yeah. When I'm out, and this is what I do, so I'm not going to say this for you. This is what I do most of the time when I'm out rifle hunting in the fall. I have some polypropylene long underwear and my brown Carhartt canvas pants. And then
I've got some of those.
If I'm wearing my pack boots, which are kind of rubber on the bottom and then a long laced upper, I wear those sometimes, especially if I'm riding a lot, because they fit in and out of a stirrup really good. If I'm wearing regular hunting, hiking boots, then I have a set of gaiters from Kenetrek that I put on. They go over your calf and over your boot, and they kind of keep snow from going up under, between your pants and your boots. Mm-hmm. If you have to cross a creek with your boots on and you're quick, the gaiters kind of keep the water from going down your boot.
Cool. I say it again, but everyone that's jumped in here that's late to the show, Adventure Cowboy, he has a YouTube channel too. I put it in the description already. You guys go check it out, or if you just Google Adventure Cowboy, you'll find them real easy. But we're going to be hunting together if you guys didn't catch that and are new to the stream here.
Some people wondering where I'm from. I'm from Southwest. Oh, another thing I should tell you, gloves. What I personally wear for gloves in the fall is gas station fleece gloves, like they're Heat Track, something like that. Forever, I was a cowboy, so sweaty and wet, 10 degrees out, your glove and your hands are gonna, especially old. Fleece gloves, if they get wet, they'll at least still have some insulation value, and they'll keep you from getting frostbite.
I think I actually have some of those gloves.
And bring 2 pair, because once one pair gets wet, then you can just put on another pair. I always have in my pack. I always have a spare pair of wool socks and a spare set of fleece gloves.
So I got to ask you this before I forget. If I wear my cowboy hat, will I be a poser city boy, or will that be acceptable?
Oh, you can do whatever you want. This is a whole nother video concept.
See, I wanted to see what you would say.
No, you can wear it, but I can tell your ears are probably going to get cold. I wouldn't be afraid to wear a ball cap with a stocking cap over it, or find you some other kind of warm hunting hat that you can cover your ears with, because I don't want to send you home to Katie with frostbite ears. Yeah, she would not be happy with me.
And I already asked her for permission if I could grow the mustache out too, and she said, "Do whatever you want."
Are you gonna go on like the Hulk Hogan, Fu Manchu brother mustache?
I don't know. We'll see. When I grow a beard, my hair is really thick. That's why I always keep my head buzzed. My hair is so thick it's literally like wearing a toboggan. My beard is the same way. I normally shave quite often, because if I don't, it's like wearing a coat on my face and I get to sweating. I might just grow my beard out.
Randall says to bring me back to Tennessee and go hog hunting. Well, I lived in Texas for a while, and I used to guide hog hunts, and it's one of my favorite things to do, so I'm all over that.
Yeah, and Randall, me and Randall have permission to hunt a property, and Randall just got a night scope, so we need to do that soon, Randall.
Somebody said we were starting to cut out a little bit on their end, so hopefully there's another one that says it.
I think you just cut out for a second. I can hear you fine now.
Okay, sorry. Just going through the comments. There's a lot we can talk about. I can keep talking for a while. So,
well, we just passed an hour. How about this? Let's do another live between now and when I get to come up there. Maybe we'll do 2 more. And everybody who's watching, put comments down below, and we'll answer all the questions. I'll think of more things. You'll think of more things. And we'll tackle a whole bunch more in the next time or two. I know I've already learned a whole lot tonight, just us talking back and forth.
There's a lot of comments in here. I was not expecting that many.
Oh, yeah. We do this every single night. We have a live show every single night.
So, did you bring any guns with you?
I did not. What did you bring?
I brought a couple because I didn't know how this was going to go.
Well, I have one on me because I always have a gun within hand reach, but it's just my Taurus Spectrum. In case somebody kicks my door in right now, I can protect myself. But that's all I have within arm's reach.
So this is what I'm carrying today. Not really.
What's that?
This is an 1874 Sharps.
Let me see if I can put you on full stream. I don't know what I'm doing here, guys.
This is a Cimarron Billy Dixon 1874 Sharps in 4570. This is the gun I shot that elk with off my horse.
Oh, wow.
Also the gun. So some of you might recognize me. I was on just one episode of the Sasquatch Mountain Man show on the Outdoor Channel back in like 2015. He and I went and did a elk hunt here in Montana, similar to what I'm going to try and do with Adam. And I was able to smoke a cow elk with a standing offhand shot at 210 yards with this and just dropped her like a rock. That's my baby. That's probably my favorite. This is Thor.
And what's that one? Is that the same one?
That's the same one.
I was like, did he just pick up another gun?
So you'll recognize this one.
Oh, you know what? Okay, I'm so glad you brought that, because I literally was looking through your videos today and I completely forgot about that, and I put it in my mind, asking, when do we get to see the boar buster again?
The boar buster, I have some more footage of it. I was hoping to, so when I shot my elk last year,
yeah,
my son was trying to help me film it, and where I ended up shooting the elk, it was it's in a pasture with some cows, and that didn't make for like super good video. Plus, when I pulled the trigger, it like startled my little boy who was filming with my phone, and you don't see, all you see is, you know, a little earthquake,
Sure.
and then I'm saying, well, he's dead. So I didn't really get a good kill shot on that elk.
Yeah.
So I'm trying to hopefully put another kill shot in for another big video on this. I've got a lot of the detail footage done with it, and some more shooting footage, but I really wanted to put another kill on that video. I mean, if YouTube's gonna crap on my videos, and I might as well make them as good as I can. So
yeah. So are you gonna pack that with us while we're hunting? You gonna shoot one before or after? What are your plans?
So fair warning, man, I'm not an outfitter. You were coming up here to hunt as my buddy, and
yeah,
with me as buddies. If my tag is valid, you better just hope you shoot it before
Here's what I was getting at is I could help you film that is what I was getting at.
Oh, gotcha. So here's something.
I can hold the camera or put it on a tripod or something. Get the zoom right. Or
2 weeks ago, I went archery hunting in the backcountry by myself. Packed up my horses and rode in. And this is the first time in 4 years that I didn't pack a camera with me. I should talk about that a little bit because people were wondering why I haven't been posting videos regularly this year. But it was just something where, like last year, I can remember I was packing all this stuff in and out, and
it's a lot.
It's a lot to do, and it does take away from the moment when you're hunting and you're having to try to make sure you get your camera shot. So that you can get a good gunshot on video.
Last year I hunted with 2 cameras, one on me, one on the animal, and I always hunt by myself for the most part. So zooming one camera on the animal, is this other camera looking at me right? Tracking it all on foot. I would carry a backpack. If I'm hunting with no cameras, I don't take a backpack. I just take my rifle. So it definitely is a pain to haul all the camera equipment.
Well, and we'll both be packing backpacks when we're up here because you don't want to go hunting in that time of year up here without some survival stuff with you.
Well, yeah, I told you, I think I said at the beginning of the video, my hunting, we're walking like 100 feet from the house or from the truck. I mean, I've gotten lost at night before and walked the wrong direction a mile, but even then, you're not too far from civilization.
I got another one while we're here. Before we get into the YouTube stuff, I don't know if you've seen this one. I haven't. This one is, I destroyed an office machine with this one, but I haven't done like a review of it. This is probably my favorite. This is the Cimarron 1886 Deluxe, made by Pedersoli. The Pedersoli version is the Pedersoli 1886 sporting rifle. Butter smooth action.
Wow.
That's my favorite. But it's heavy. I mean, you got a heavy gun anyway with a 26-inch octagon barrel, and then you fill that sucker with like 9 rounds of 45-70. It's heavy to pack around. And I'm not putting a sling on it. I'm not going to drill into that wood. So I'm started building a scabbard for it that I can put a sling on the scabbard. But it's a lot. So I do a little bit of leather work. And if anybody has done leather work and they've done tooling, they know it's super tedious and it takes a lot of time. And one thing I don't have a lot of these days is time.
Yep.
So I just need a little bit more time to finish that scabbard.
I have done 0 leather work with the exception of skinning a raccoon. Well, I've skinned a lot of raccoons, but I only did one to actually get the hide good and everything, and that was a ridiculous amount of time. But which one are you going to be packing while we're out?
We're going to be hunting for multiple days, so I'll probably alternate. Like I said, I want another kill with the boar buster, which I might do that on a deer, but it would be cool to get an elk with it. But I really want elk with all of my guns. I have another 1886 from Cimarron that has the crescent butt plate, and it's more straight grip traditional.
Yeah.
It's awesome too. Although I will tell you, I'm not recoil sensitive, but the crescent butt plate with the hot loads it kind of was hurting me the other day.
I believe it. I'm not kidding you. So I'll shoot the biggest gun you got. You know, I'm not scared. Whatever. I shoot guns every weekend. But my 4570, it's a 1895 Marlin. I mean, I think it is the cheapest model you can get, and whatever kind of rubber buttstock it has, you shoot that 2 times, I will have a golf ball welt for a week in my shoulder. Like hematoma, I guess is what it is.
Yeah.
It just what happens to my shoulder.
Somebody's asking about 270. 270 is a decent caliber for elk. Jack O'Connor surely liked it.
I've taken one whitetail with a 270. It was a big doe. It ran about 50 yards. Double long 270 ran 50 yards or so.
With all the animals that I've seen, some of the worst meat damage from a bullet has been like 7mm mags, 270s, some of those lighter, really fast bullets. Yeah, some people will say, well, you're shooting, you know, a 325 grain bullet with a 4570 or up to like a 430 grain bullet. That should make a big hole. But when they say you can eat right up to the bullet hole, you're right. I mean, it just doesn't create a lot of bloodshot meat. Let Adam shoot the 1886. Adam can shoot anything that I've got.
I'm looking forward to it. We'll have to iron out the days that I'm going to show up and all that stuff. But I've gotten to where I can't drive in the night real good anymore. I'm getting old and I get sleepy. I used to be able to go, hey, let's go 3 days. No problem. I'll drive 3 days. I can't do that anymore.
Well, we want you to get here safe, but most importantly, we want you to get home safe. All right, so I'm going to address the YouTube thing right now, since it came up like at the very beginning in a comment. And so, yes, Adam's mentioned my channel a couple times. I do have a channel. There's 100 and some videos on there. I do not do daily videos like him. He's crazy.
I'm crazy.
He has a lot going on besides his videos. For those of you who don't know, he's got a full-time job, and he probably only gets 2 to 3 hours of sleep a night.
Yep.
Nuts. But so when I made my channel, it wasn't really for the intents or purposes of making money. It was to kind of share my story. But it was also something that was a creative outlet for me and a way for me to kind of have some fun sharing stuff. I'm a person who likes to share stories. And this spring, I was kind of having some struggles with YouTube. It wasn't so much that they were demonetizing the videos, but they also weren't getting recommended. And I was starting, like, I was really trying hard to upload more often. And I was dedicating nights every week to editing, which those of you who don't video, I mean, one of my videos that's 5 minutes long might take me 15 hours to edit. And maybe that's just because I suck at editing, but it's a reality. You're going to spend a lot of time to do this with any sort of quality. And and so I have 2 kids from a previous marriage that I only get to see like every other weekend. And I have a wife that I love very much and I love to spend time with. But we both have full-time jobs and we both have a second job. So when you boil it all down to the amount of time that you have to spend together, it was a small fraction of the total hours of our day. And I was devoting so much time to this video thing that, and it really wasn't getting me anywhere. I mean, as far as like, it wasn't bringing enough income in to justify the hours I was putting in it. So what was the real gain? In the past, I made a video when I felt inspired to make a video, or I had time to make a video, and it was fun. And this spring, it got to be a little bit of a stressor for me, and I started stress eating, and I was getting grumpier because I just didn't, there wasn't enough of me to go around. And so between that and then the YouTube demonetizing everything, I just kind of just had a moment where I said, okay, there's some things I need to prioritize in my life. And especially when the spiritual life starts suffering and your family life starts suffering because of a hobby, I had to reprioritize. So I took a break, and I still have the channel, and I'm editing a video for a Cimarron 1894 rifle. It's going to be up probably tomorrow night or the next night. So there's another one coming up. But this year I kind of had to take a little bit of a break because I got a lot of stuff going on. Last year we lost a baby, and we are pregnant again. So that's good. But all of that, and Adam, you well know this, all of that is more important than making a video for people. And I'm not trying to take anything away from the audience and the people that have followed me for years. I'm very grateful. But the fact of the matter is I had to do some real soul searching and some gut check as far as what's important. The only thing the most valuable thing in my life that I can never get any more of, and I can't get any back, is time. And when I am laying on my deathbed, what am I going to wish that I'd spent more time on? Making YouTube videos, dealing with my family.
Yep, absolutely.
So I'm not done with it. I just had to take a break for a while and reprioritize. I don't know that I'll ever get to uploading really often, but I'm not making my videos for the people that are like addicted to YouTube.
I'm addicted to YouTube. Yeah, no, that's good stuff. I'm a lot grumpier than I should be. I tell you that.
Well, there's a couple times your kids, kids say the darndest things, or if you want to be biblical, out of the mouths of babes.
Yep.
There's a couple times my kids, without even intending it, were wanting some attention from me and had pretty much said so, and were wondering why. I could see it in their face, like they were wondering why this computer was more important than they were. And I still struggle with that, with this stupid thing.
Yep. So I don't know if I told you yet. We put our house up for sale, and we're moving. So we've been doing all that past couple weeks. The house, actually, we got a bid within like 3 hours, and wasn't. Oh, there's my little puppy dog behind me. So we're doing all that moving stuff too. I told my wife today, I said, you know what? If everything goes through and the house sells and we get through all that, all the meanwhile, everything else, life going on, we just need to take a trip to Gatlinburg. No computers, we'll still take a phone in case the car breaks down or something, but just family in a cabin in the middle of nowhere, hanging out. Nowhere to be, no computer to get on, no YouTube videos, just hanging out, playing games, whatever. We did that once last year. We got the chance to go, and it was the most fun I've had in a really long time.
Well, you're absolutely right. And if you just think about when we were kids, my kids have no concept of what it's like to not have internet.
Yeah.
Or no cell phones. When we were kids, there still wasn't internet.
No.
I mean, I got a cardboard box. I could have just plenty of fun with that. And the reality, and we were talking about this the other day, if my kids aren't like in my sight for a while, I start to get worried. I don't know where they are. And then I think about my childhood. We ate breakfast during the summers, and then I took my gun and went and shot gophers and pigeons and made tree houses, and I came back for supper. Like, my mom had no idea where I was.
Yeah, us the same way. Like, we would go out on our bikes across town, whatever. And they wouldn't know where we were. We didn't have any phone.
It's a different world now, too. I will say that. But I do think that the screen time is affecting our kids negatively. So I'm trying to be better about that. Dave Smith says, Cimarron paid you. We get it. LOL. Okay, yes, I am a sponsored shooter for Cimarron Firearms. They saw one of my videos where I did an offhand shot with that Billy Dixon Sharps at 455 yards, and they wanted to partner up with me. So they don't pay me in cash. I do have an agreement with them though. So I'm not afraid to disclose that. I'm on their website under their Cimarron Champions little tab. So yeah, there's no smoke and mirrors here. Everybody knows I'm sponsored by Cimarron. I wouldn't be if I didn't like their company and I didn't like what they produced.
Yep. Well, I better get off here. I think it's about bedtime. Help everybody get to sleep.
Good job, Dad.
But everybody, go subscribe to the Adventure Cowboy. We're going to be hanging out here soon. And I've got little ones here. Everybody say hi.
Hi, kiddos.
This guy's not tall enough to be in the camera.
Hey, buddy.
Oh. But everybody go check out my friend Clayton, the Adventure Cowboy. Subscribe to him. He's going to be on here again soon. Appreciate you big time, man. Always good talking to you. Appreciate you taking time to come hang out and teach us some stuff.
If people have questions I didn't answer, they can leave them in the comments on your video here, or they can go to my Facebook, the Adventure Cowboy Facebook page, and I'll just message me or comment on something and I'll answer it.
Cool. I'll grab that link and put it in the video description too. But anything else before we sign off here?
No, hey, thanks for the opportunity to get on here with you.
Oh, thanks for coming and hanging out.
I've ever done a live stream with.
Well, go check out StreamYard if you want to check it out. It literally took me 2 seconds. StreamYard.com, and it's super easy.
Cool. Thank you again for the opportunity.
We'll talk to you soon.
Adios.
Thanks, everybody.